That's 11:13. That's all one. But hey, Scott, I'll take one. Thanks.
How are you? Good. How are you? Good.
Okay. We'll wait till we're starting. Oh.
Yeah, that's all right. I've got it on the computer. Okay, so I can use that. So much for this.
Okay. Just wait for him to. All right. Should I start it? Okay. All right. I would like to call the Peoria Public Schools Board of Education District 150 meeting to order for December 10th, 2012. Would you please call the roll?
Here?
Here. Here.
Here. Ms. Patel. Here. Mrs. Ross. Here. Mr. Crawford.
Here. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's see, that will take us to, I think, if you'll notice, we do have a couple hearings tonight, the tax levy hearing and the holiday waiver hearing. So we will take the tax levy hearing at 6:45 and the holiday waiver hearing at 7. So moving on, that takes us to awards and recognition. And Dr. Lathan.
At this time, if Lana Myers would come forward and present Peoria's Finest Teacher Award, please.
Good evening. Peoria's Finest Teacher is a monthly recognition that we are sponsoring for those members of PFT that go above and beyond, exemplify best practices in teaching, and/or reach out to the community and parents to be involved in our schools. The teachers in this district work so hard to serve the children and families of Peoria each day, and we want to showcase this positive effort. We want to thank our winner's principal, Mrs. Smith, and any faculty, friends, and family of our winner that are here in support. Our nominator of this month's winner is Stacy Gates. And this month's Peoria's Finest Teacher is Michael Barra at Harrison School. Congratulations. Come on up, Michael.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So, you're a teacher, and you're in the zone. You got all your plans done. You even got some research done in advance. You might even have organized your evaluation materials. You go to bed early, get up extra early, arrive at the school a little early, and there's only one sure thing, is that Mr. Barra's car is already in the lot. So I personally get to my PE office. He has his clipboard organized for the day. He has my clipboard organized for the day with grade sheets that he designed in the order that the students are coming to my class. The equipment is already set up or organized, and during all this, he's already greeted virtually every student that's come into the gym. And he greets them with that easygoing style that's popular with parents, teachers, and especially with students. So I sit by my computer screen and I see this excellent award of positivity that comes from this district, and I know someone from the Harrison family absolutely has to have one. So it's a hard choice, and I have to decide which of our great teachers I'm going to nominate. So I decide on the guy that sits 10 feet from me in the PE office every day. You might know him as an old school math teacher, or you might know him as a hardworking union man. I'm proud that he's my first and only PE partner in 19 years of service, and I'm also proud to call him my friend and your Teacher of the Month, Mr. Mike Barra.
Thank you, Mr. Gates. Mr. Gates is my mentor. He's been here for a long time. I look up to him, and he helps me almost every day with everything at Harrison. There's a lot of great teachers at Harrison. It's a challenging job. We have a wonderful staff. Any one of them could be up here deserving this. We also have Ms. Smith. Thank you for showing up tonight. I appreciate. She's a hard-working principal. We have two excellent principal and assistant principal. Mr. Morrison, he works hard. We're all a family, and we all try to support each other. Thank you for this award.
Thank you. And Dr. Lathan, moving on.
At this time, if Cindy Morris would come up, we're going to present the foundation grant recipients. Those are our awards that will be grants that are awarded to our teachers in our district. Ms. Morris.
I'm going to speak on behalf of the Peoria Public Schools Foundation. My name is Melinda Ewand. I am the foundation assistant. I am here with Cindy Morris, who is the president of the Peoria Public Schools Foundation. This is our 15th year of giving out teacher grants to innovative classroom ideas. We had received 30 this year, and a committee of community people as well as different people from different divisions within the school district came together in a committee to decide these 11 people to receive this grant. These are outstanding people, and we're excited that they were here, and we're excited to see what happens with their innovative ideas in the classroom. As I call your name, will you please come up and accept your award? Michael Bates. Michelle Busher, she is not here, and so her principal, Donna O'Day, will accept it on her behalf. Jacob Dupree. Don Gersich. Audra Hayes, she cannot be here tonight, but her principal, Heather Young, is accepting this award on her behalf. Kirsten Kelly. Lynn Lane. Susan McCabe. Denise Smith. Trent Trotter. And Julia Wharton. We represent these fine, outstanding individuals to you, the Board of Education. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you.
Can we recognize their schools, so we don't know which schools they represent, please? If they want to just let us know.
I'm at Sterling Pre-K.
Quest Charter Academy.
Mark Bills. Manual Pre-K. Goodyear Primary.
Woodruff Career and Technical Center.
The fabulous Thomas Jefferson. Michelle Busher is at Sterling.
Woodruff is up.
Hines Primary. Sterling.
All right, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. That now takes us to our place in our meeting where we have announcements from board members. Any announcements? Ms. Patel?
I had my toes done at the Woodruff Cosmetology Salon, and I'm wearing very inappropriate shoes to show them off. So you should all come look at my toes after the meeting. But they do a great job down there, and it's so fun, and if you haven't been, you should go.
Any? Any other announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on. That takes us to a place in our meeting where we have presentation by the audience.
So moved. Second.
Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, I forget the order. Does anybody want to, it's a public comment for you. Does anybody care to get up and talk about the tax levy? That is, Mr. Knapp.
Yes, Terry Knapp, 922 West
Okay, well, that's right, because when we move on to the agenda, okay. So request a motion and a second to conclude tonight's tax levy hearing.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll?
Is it okay if I come up? I got something to speak on.
Well, we just closed the tax levy
Oh, I'm
hearing.
sorry about that.
If you
Okay.
presented a card, we're going to go back to audience comment.
All right.
Okay. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
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 Mr. Jones? Aye. Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye. Would anybody like to address the board on the holiday waiver hearing?
Could you maybe have Dr. Lathan explain
Yeah,
what this is about first, real quick?
Please.
All right.
Just a point of record that process that's followed. What's probably disappointing to most people in the public is that you don't know all the details. So before you stand up and say we didn't follow a process, there were many people involved. We do follow a chain of command here in the district, and then when it makes its way all the way up to the superintendent's office, when it starts first at the building level, whether it's with the principal or an assistant principal, and it works its way up. But when it is a personnel situation, we do follow the procedures. There is due process involved. We will not disclose what decisions we make, although people can go out in public and tell their side of the story. Sometimes the district doesn't get to tell its side. But I can tell you that people are treated fairly. They might not agree with the decision, but there was a process that was followed as it relates to any personnel decision. To the young lady that spoke, thank you so much. More people need to hear that we need to be more positive. You're right, we need to forward our students with field trips and opportunities. We need to get them out of their environment, especially if their environment is hurting them. And so we're trying to provide more opportunities. I want to make sure I'm clear, you were in the natural hair care class at Woodruff?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so did it help make a difference for you by having that opportunity?
Actually, I was pregnant when I went in. I still seen it as an opportunity, and I didn't want to let it slip through my hands because it's a talent and it's just something I love to do. So when I started, they told me that I would be able to continue. I ended up having my daughter. Her name's Skyla. And it interrupted my learning process, but I was told I would be able to be worked with. But I have not been able to go back to receive my license. I still have 100 more hours to complete, but I did start, and I am willing to look. I'm looking forward to continue, because regardless of that license, I'm gonna keep going anyway.
But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, without disclosing too much, I believe your teacher has advocated for you and maybe, I think, 2 other students to be able to return and finish their hours.
Okay.
And I believe we have an understanding that that can happen. So you need to finish, and when you finish, we're coming down to see you, okay?
Okay.
And so, once again, I support the natural hair class. I support all of our classes down at Woodruff. We should be providing opportunities for our students. But I can tell you for sure that your teacher has advocated for the students that did not complete the course last year. And so Ms. Johnson will be working with you all to get that done. All
Okay.
right?
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming tonight.
God bless you.
And your hair is beautiful.
If I may just address the comments about the personnel issue, I just want to let you know that decisions by the superintendent are not made in a vacuum. She is excellent in terms of bringing us information. She brings information to her staff, to us, and we are informed of the details. Unfortunately, we can't discuss details in open meetings about personnel. That's why many times we don't get to tell our side of the story. But I have respect for those who are involved in personnel decisions. I don't think we will discuss that, but I just want to let you know that I second Dr. Lathan's comments. A process is followed. Thank you. Mr. Cloyd, did you have a comment?
Just to respond to Mr. Darling, I found that a very productive meeting. Thank you. I look forward to more of them. And I think the idea of surveying on those issues is important. And I think the opportunity to gather data on those issues in a collaboration of the organizations, I think is a very good idea. And I will support that. And also the concerns you have about substitute teacher shortages, certainly that's a concern. And I would like to follow up on that with Dr. Lathan, and maybe there's some other ways to approach that. But that's certainly an important and very significant consideration in terms of getting the proper staffing in the classrooms. So, thank you.
Okay. That brings us to tonight's information items. Respect for our finances, purchase orders over $2,500. Any questions for Dr. Kinney? Seeing none, we will move on to remarkable rule number 4, respect individual differences. Dr. Lathan, tonight's report under the connection with Freedom of Information Act requests.
Since our last board meeting report on November 13th, 2012, we have received 4 new Freedom of Information Act requests. Of these new requests, 4 were filled. There were no pending requests noted on the November 13th, 2012 board report. We have received 65 requests for this calendar year.
Thank you, Dr. Lathan. That brings us to the items on tonight's consent agenda. Vice President Cloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are items for the consent agenda, starting with number 1, gifts to the school district, this meeting totaling $4,825, and year-to-date $30,381.67. The proposed action is that the following donations be accepted and letters of appreciation sent to the donors. Socket ratchet set valued at $300 by Michael McKenzie to the Transportation Department. Activity balls and pumps valued at $800 by Kevin Carroll and the Illinois Library Association to various schools. $50 by Andrew Corsack to the Deidre Purcell Collins Math Award. $100 by Kit Cation Schneider to the Richwoods Alumni Fund. $500 by David and Barbara Wickness to Manual High School to be used toward the purchase of a washing machine. $400 by Casey and Kimberly Johnson to Manual High School to be used toward the purchase of a washing machine. Miscellaneous supplies valued at $300 by the Madison Park Kroger to the Treewind School. And the following donations were made to the Right Now Fund. United Security Communications, Inc., $250. Patrick and Gladys Elward, $100. Roberta Parks, $250. Sodexo, $1,500. George and Norma Cotterman, $50. Elton and Lorraine Bryson, $100. And New Toys Leisure Products, $125. Item number 2, the payment of bills. Item number 3, the Human Resources Report. The proposed action is the appointment, employment, compensation, performance, resignation, retirement, or discharge of an employee. Item number 4, travel requests. Item number 5, uniform rental and facility maintenance. Proposed action is that authorization be granted for the administration to enter into a 3-year contract with Cintas to provide uniforms for the mechanic maintenance technicians and preventative maintenance technicians as required by the collective bargaining agreement, as well as facility services. The annual cost will be approximately $11,996.64. Approval of the resolution to reimburse the city for taxes paid to us for properties listed. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approves the attached resolution. The City of Peoria is taking ownership of 14 properties on the near north side for delinquent real estate taxes. In order to have the title, they must pay back taxes. This agreement provides that the Board of Education, through this resolution, will rebate those taxes when paid to us back to the city so that they can utilize those funds to help develop these properties. The estimated taxes we receive for tax years 2009 through 2011 is $1,846.77 for all 14 properties combined. Item number 7, temporary approval and payment of bills. Proposed action is that during the period between December 10th, 2012 and the next regular school board meeting, the interim controller treasurer is given full authority to approve and pay any amounts due and owing by the school district, which in his judgment is in the best interest of the school district and require payment prior to the next regular school board meeting. Number 8, proposed action is that the Board of Education authorizes the administration to forward the tax levy certificate to the county clerk's office as presented. Item number 9, resolution authorizing modification to school holidays. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approve the attached resolution giving the option to hold school or schedule teachers' institutes, parent-teacher conferences, or staff development on the following legal school holidays. The third Monday in January, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. February 12, President Lincoln's birthday. The first Monday in March, Casimir Pulaski's birthday. The second Monday in October, Columbus Day. And November 11, Veterans Day, without the prior approval of the ISBE. Number 10, contract extension with First Student. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approves the contract extension with First Student for augmenting the present workforce. This extension will be for the 2013 calendar year. Commencing January 1st, 2013, the rates of compensation payable hereunder during the ensuing contract year are increased by a factor of 2%, with the primary rate for alternate bid being increased from $33 per hour to a rate of $33.66 per hour, subject to the terms of the original bid, and are based on current number of routes. Since 10 routes per day are guaranteed, the projected minimum cost for the year will be $296,208. Item number 11, approve PCM&D to design a gym for Calvin Coolidge and a cafeteria for Rolling Acres. The proposed action is that the Board of Education is asked to approve a contract for PCM&D. The fee for both projects will be $170,000, which represents 6.75% of the estimated cost. Item number 12, recommendation for board approval of Rising Star plans. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approve the Rising Star plans for Manual Academy, Peoria High School, Richwoods High School, Mark Bills, Calvin Coolidge, Charter Oak, Franklin, Glen Oak Community Learning Center, Harrison Community Learning Center, Hines, Irving, Jamison, Jefferson, Keller, Knoxville Center, Lincoln, Lindbergh, Northmore, Rolling Acres, Roosevelt Magnet, Sterling, Trewind, Valeska Hinton, Von Steuben, Washington Gifted, Woodruff Career and Technical Center, Whittier, and Woodrow Wilson schools. These schools have been using this internet-based continuous improvement tool, and board approval is required to submit their plans to the State Board of Education. And that concludes the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice President Cloyd. Would any board member like any of the items on tonight's consent agenda pulled for a separate vote?
Mr. Crawford? Mr. Crawford.
Ms. Wolfmeyer.
Number 10, the contract extension with First Student.
Okay, we will pull item number 10. Any other items pulled on tonight's consent agenda, pulled for a separate vote? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second to approve the items on tonight's consent agenda, excluding item number 10.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Patel?
Can you just talk to us a little bit about number 11, the gym and cafeteria? Yes.
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 As the building committee, and we've talked about this, the desire to put a gym on at Calvin Coolidge and a cafeteria on at Rolling Acres. This has been well supported by the principals there, and as we go through the process, what this does is this allows the architect to go ahead and get going on those. Somebody did ask, and if you don't mind, I'll just take a minute and explain what happens here in this process. Well, they will come back to us with schematic designs to give us kind of a pre-approval process of what they're going to look like. They will work on a site design and show us exactly where they're going to be located as additions to the buildings. And then they'll go back after they've given us an idea of what the schematic designs are going to be. They'll put more detail to it and come back one more time with what they call a design development phase. And we've been through this with Irving. We've been through it with, I'm sorry, not Irving, but Lincoln and with Peoria High since I've been here. And I know you went through the same thing with both Harrison and Glen Oak. But then they will then develop all of the bid specs. And part of our reason for going ahead now is we want to capture the most competitive bid timing in this process. If you get these kinds of bid specs out in the late winter or very early spring, you tend to get more competitive bids. They will be bid as totally separate projects. The gym is anticipated to be something around or slightly less than $2 million, at least the way we're originally looking at it. And the cafeteria at Rolling Acres would be slightly less than $1 million. The goal would be to get this process done, allow the bids to come into us, and hopefully by either late March, early April, we'd be able to bring back a low bid contract for each of those two projects. They'd be able to get started, hopefully closed in. Either of those construction projects are significant enough that it usually takes about a year or so to build them. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yep.
Let me add just a couple more things. When the architect does go through all of this, they also do meet regularly as part of any construction project. They oversee what's done to make sure that any contractor involved does it correctly. They actually run tests on materials that are used, and then they also have a process where they will provide to us approval of bills by the contractor. So it's a very lengthy process.
Ms. Costick.
Ms. Costick?
Yeah, just in terms of the need, I think it might be helpful just to explain what they're currently using.
Very good point. Anybody that's been to Calvin Coolidge knows how inadequate that gym is. It is, well, part of the original building is very small, cannot be used as any kind of a competitive gym as far as any kind of like an IESA type tournament. Rolling Acres, that gym there is also used as their cafeteria, and they have a very small area for a kitchen. Our desire here is we think that their gym is actually pretty good size, but what happens is we have to shut PE programs down for 2.5 to 3 hours out of the middle of the day, in order to serve lunches, and then clean the space so that PE can get back in there. This will give Rolling Acres, which is a bit of a growing school, a lot more flexibility in their scheduling. We looked at a gym and decided that, you know what, their gym is actually pretty good. It's not quite as wide as we'd like, but it's really pretty good, and we can save a lot of money by doing a cafeteria instead. That also meets another goal as we move slowly towards doing some more food prep at the individual schools. Part of the design of that cafeteria will include a kitchen. We'll also design it as something of a multi-purpose room facility.
We need to clarify the funding source, so everyone knows where
capital
the funding
projects.
source, capital projects.
Yep, that's that money we got last spring, so we will use that money.
Ms. Ross?
Just also to talk about this a little bit in the context of doing it in a vacuum. This was actually preferred by the principals.
Yes.
Because originally, we were looking at, through this capital project, capital project dollars, doing maybe air conditioning. So, for those who have summer school and that, but they preferred to have this type of thing done rather than the air conditioning because it would, promote, student achievement better. And, yeah.
Anyone else?
I would just
Reverend
like to
Butler?
make mention, I think it's a good thing, especially because these are the middle schools, and we had talked about bringing more recreational and sports activities to our middle schools, so this will lend itself to that purpose as well, or goal.
Ms. Costick?
Just one more thing to add to it. In talking about the expansion for Calvin Coolidge, I think it serves that we should let the public know that the West Bluff area, the West Peoria area has really embraced this project along with the district. All right?
Well, I've had a conversation with their city manager. He's very excited. I think we've heard maybe some reservation in the West Bluff area, concerned about the, potential future of their school. So this will erase all of that. So I think that it'll be very exciting. The West Peoria manager is really excited about working with us because we'd like to do a little bit more than just put on a gym. We'd like to develop some of their athletic fields on the outside as well, so.
Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cloyd?
Just, Dr. Lathan, could you provide a little more detail on what Rising Star is and how that is applied?
Yes, you voted actually probably a month or two ago on some other indicators. Through the Rising Star Plan and what we used to call many years ago the School Improvement Plan, this time around the schools were reporting on SMART Plan indicators. Those indicators, for example, the principal keeps a focus on instructional improvement and student learning outcomes. So schools update the state on their status as it relates to those different indicators. Another one that we're doing in collaboration with the PFT. Professional development for the whole faculty includes assessments of strengths and areas in need of improvement from classroom observations of indicators of effective teaching. So once again, they're updating the state as to on their status.
Thank you.
Reverend Butler?
Mr. Crawford, item number 10, the contract extension with First Student.
Yes, Ms. Wolfmeyer pulled that.
We're going to do that second.
Oh,
on
that's
deliberation.
right,
Yep.
that's right, okay. I have nothing.
Any other items? I think the other ones are pretty self-explanatory. Okay. Seeing no more discussion, may I have Madam Secretary call the roll?
Mr. Cloyd?
Aye.
Mrs. Wolfmeyer?
Aye.
Mrs. Costick? Aye. Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Ms. Patel? Aye. Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
Okay, that takes us to item number 10. I suppose I need a motion and a second to approve item number 10, the contract extension with First Student.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Wolfmeyer?
Dr. Kinney, I know it says that, it says 10 routes per day are being guaranteed. Does that mean that if we would find somewhere a miracle of influx of drivers, during the course of this year, can we reduce that number of routes? Or if we're able to hire 25 drivers, do we still have to pay them for 10 routes?
We would, I believe, unless we have some way of working with them, I think that we're obligated to do that. I can guarantee you, with past 2 years' experience, I don't think that'll be an issue. And we're even to the point where it would be nice to even have some sub-routes. Mr. Mendoza's here, he can comment, but we're still in a situation where even with using first student drivers, there are many, many times where we're still short, and supervisors are driving buses, mechanics are driving buses, and so forth.
And I understand that, and I voiced this concern last year when we were going to extend the contract. What concerns me is that, and I'm not saying we aren't out there trying to find drivers, but I just have some reservations approving a contract that we're locked into for 10 routes for a full year, whether we need them or not.
Maybe Mr. Mendoza would go to the podium and
Can you talk about the number of drivers that we still need and also the recruitment efforts?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for considering this. Number one, I do appreciate it. As you said, we are recruiting. The recruitment efforts are there. If by some miracle, which I would pray for constantly, if we could find all 24 drivers that we need, we still need drivers to cover absences. As you can see, we do have standby positions there, but those 12 don't always cover the absences that we have. On any given day, we could have 18, 19 drivers out. We've been, for an entire year now, we've been recruiting, and we still can't seem to catch all the drivers that we need. As I said last time, they're not covered. They're not taking any work away from any employees. They are not going to work over the summer. All that's reserved for our staff, for our drivers and monitors. But we just can't seem to grab those other 25, 30 drivers that we need. First Student was very helpful in having a successful school year, not only with our own amazing drivers and monitors, but with their extra staff, we were able to have a very successful start of the school year. And this year, we actually had parents calling us not to complain, but actually to thank us, to say this is the first time in years my child's ever been picked up on the first day of school. So with their help, we were able to have a very successful school year, and I would like to do it again. And again, we're going to keep on out. We're recruiting as much as possible.
Can you talk about the recruiting efforts, please?
We've attended job fairs. We've had television commercials on 31 and Channel 43, radio commercials, ads in PJ Star. We have a table at the mall where we try to recruit people, internet advertising. We've created postcards to put at local businesses that say now hiring, has our website, has a phone number. We still are doing the banners on buses. As you drive around the city, you're going to see our buses out there. We are even offering assistance to people who, we don't hire anyone unless they can get their written test done. So what we're doing is we're giving them a class. If you want this, you come to us, we'll help you through the training process, reading through the book, passing the written test. Because we've noticed that's where we're losing a lot of people at that very beginning stage. And we want to hold their hand as much as possible. So we've offered these classes now. We had some, I believe, last week, 3 days. We had, I think, 18 people. So it's helping. We just need to, we're holding their hand through the process is what we want to do. And again, advertisements in the school newsletter and Remarkable Times. So the word's out there. We also have a program for our drivers and monitors. If they refer someone to us, getting something back. We're doing everything we can. If anyone has any ideas, I'm open, please.
So we don't have to pay for this during the summer then? This amount doesn't include any summer work?
Right, and we do not use them for any of our athletic runs, field trips, midday runs.
Or after-school activities, weekends, nothing of that.
All of that's our drivers.
Ms. Ross?
Just a question or two. Although you're continuing to recruit, and say you have an influx of recruits, but we're locked into 10 routes already, what are you going to do with the recruits?
Well, we would use them as standby drivers until the end of the contract, and they will be used. I guarantee you it's very rare that we have anybody sitting waiting to drive. So they will be used.
Well, I guess I'd like you to look at, I know this is probably going to pass tonight, but what I would like to have you look at is the amount of money that we're paying to the first student in reference to how much we pay our drivers. I don't think we're we're very competitive in paying our drivers here. And perhaps if we take that amount of money and look at, you know, what we're paying our drivers, we might be able to recruit a lot more people. And,
I definitely agree.
And keep a lot more people. Because we've been talking about this for years now. One of the things about being on this board, you know, so long is that I've heard it all and been there, done that several times. But I'm just concerned that for us to look at long-term in order to be able to keep people, perhaps look at changing the package that we're giving them. That's what I've heard drivers say. They used to want to drive, work in the cafeteria, then go back and drive because of the split.
Yes, ma'am.
And so it's not economical for them to do that, you know, nor does it make sense if they can't get benefits and that kind of thing.
I like where you're going with that. I like that.
Can we do that?
That's two different contracts, and I mean,
Well, it
that was
is,
something
but
that we
we've
would have to
done it
talk about.
We do have to be careful of overtime issues. Even though they may work for two different union groups, they still work for District 150, so we have to be careful of overtime issues. Let me comment, just for what it's worth, keep in mind, when we pay a driver, you add on top of that IMRF, Social Security, Medicare, FICA, work comp costs, other insurance issues, those kinds of benefits, all of that's wrapped up into that first student fee. So the disparity between the two numbers really isn't as great as it looks like.
Just,
Mr. Cloyd.
I know in Chicago, I talked to a couple of the companies, and I know Dr. Kinney did too, that provide other services. Could you sort of describe what the alternatives were and why we didn't choose to go that way?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Well, other firms that might be able to do this instead of First Student, for example.
Oh, yeah, one of the, there are other competitors. One did bid, but their rate was literally almost twice as high as First Student, so. They need to have drivers in the area. They need to have that ability to fulfill the contract. So that limits who can even bid.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Mr. Floyd?
Aye.
Mrs. Whitmire?
Aye.
Mrs. Costick?
Aye.
Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Ms. Patel? Aye. Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried.
Mrs. Ross, first off, on tonight's discipline report, I know that we're going to be pulling item number 13. There were no suspensions. So, Mrs. Ross.
Thank you. Item number 14, revocation of board probation. The proposed action is that the revocation of board probation listed on the report dated December 10th, 2012 be approved as presented.
Second.
Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Mr. Floyd?
Aye.
Mrs. Whitmire?
Aye.
Mrs. Costick?
Aye.
Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Ms. Patel? Aye. Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried.
Item number 15, expulsions. The proposed action is that the expulsions listed on the report dated December 10th, 2012 be approved as amended.
Presented, I'm sorry. Aye. Second. I'll get it right. Second.
Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Floyd?
Aye.
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 Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Ms. Patel? Aye. Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Crawford?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays, motion carried.
That brings us to presentation and suggestions by board members.
Excuse me, I didn't know if you were going to read usually students expelled by the board, I refer
Oh,
to.
my bad, let me read
Okay.
that, okay,
Because
backing up.
we did discuss it.
Okay. Students expelled by the board are referred to by number, thereby ensuring privacy. Board action concerning the students has been decided in executive session. So that brings us to tonight's presentation and suggestions by board members. I know that a couple, at least, we're going to have our discussion now on the IASB conference in Chicago. Many of us attended. So, Ms. Cossack, you were
Thank you very much for choosing me first when I.
No, I thought you were raising your hand. No. I thought you were raising your hand. Okay, who would like to, Mr. Cloyd, I see that you have a presentation.
I defer to anyone else who would care to go first.
I'll go first.
Please, Ms. Ross.
All right. This is your presentation. You want me to do yours?
If you wish.
No. Well, I'm not as formal as most people. I did not necessarily, have time to write a full-page book. But
It's
I
3
wanted to
pages.
just say that I always get good education and interaction with going to this conference, this particular conference, because you get a lot of networking and you really do learn a lot. I mentioned last year that the state senate had at one point tried to mandate that we go to training and get so many hours, and I think we do have to do some of that right now, but this conference kind of suffices for that. I actually became the delegate this year for our district here in District 150. So I spent a lot of time with the delegation and looking at the laws and legislative resolutions that were being presented. All of the policies and that we go by here, they are all decided in those sessions. There were like 29 different resolutions presented. Not all of them were accepted, but a great number of them were accepted. And it's funny because you never would think of things like school employee strikes. There was a resolution on that. Cyberbullying, homeless transportation. There were some small school districts who did not want, they submitted the resolution because they didn't feel that if a kid became homeless from another county, that they should provide transportation, for that child to get an education. These were some of the smaller districts that were feeling that way. School finance reform, again, the prevailing wage. I mean, this is something that we all talk about, but these things are very important that we become a part of. And over the years, I've been the delegation representative a couple of different times, but I think we need to continue to be involved in so that we are part of the policy makers for the state. They didn't have any board members from our area, but perhaps that might be a goal that someone can, run for the board for the Illinois State Board Association. The other one, one of the other ones I went to that I was really excited about was closing the gap between African Americans and Hispanic regarding education and the achievement gap. There are a lot of perceptions out there about how to close this achievement gap. And one of the major things that came out of this, and that's why I was so interested in it, was that DuPage County has done marvelous in closing that gap, but their focus is on parental involvement. And it's amazing. And not just parental involvement, but real formalized parental involvement, where the parents actually have a formal process that they go through to be able to work with their students and with the schools. And so I bought the book. Anyone who wants to read it, the speaker was marvelous, and she said she would be happy to come here. Matter of fact, she signed her book and gave me her personal cell phone number. She's exciting. She would be great for PD. in talking about how to not just talk about parental involvement, but actually involve parents at a level of valuing them and appreciating them as well. So this book is called Voices. You've read this one?
I know, I want to.
Okay, good. You can have it first. And then you can just pass it around. But those were the two that stood out to me most. Others I walked in and out of to try to get, a handout here and there. You can't go in all of them. But the greatest experience was the networking with other people. And it kind of validates what you're doing to say, okay, you're either doing something right or not doing something right. So I enjoyed the conference. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ross.
Just want to come on around.
Mr. Cloyd.
Okay, thank you, sir. It's my first time to attend. I thought it was very useful, informative, and an overwhelming amount of information, and we couldn't possibly, every one of us, cover every one of the forums, but I think we did a pretty good job of trying to cover as many as we could. I attended 4 of those. One was on behind the scenes on pension reform. Great quote from Senator Elaine Netzkirk, basically that said that nothing about this is fair. We made promises we can't keep. And state tax revenue is estimated to grow between $600 and $700 million in 2014. Pension costs will grow $1 billion. State revenue is forecast through 2045 to grow at 1% compounded annual growth rate, and pension costs are forecast to grow at 4.5% annually, which means there won't be anything there to take care of that growth. And her message basically was, and she's one of the leaders in the House on these issues, don't expect anything to come out of this until the legislature finally has a deadline, and that would be the end of the June 30 session, or unless there's a crisis such as a downgrading of the state's bond rating, which could happen at any day. That was number one. That session was packed. I mean, there were probably 400 seats in that room, and it was full, and it was standing room only. Second one was school bullying, violence prevention, perspectives on prevention response. Comment was another definition of bullying is meanness for meanness sake, and it talked about some of these issues and the requirement to update a bullying policy every 2 years. Also that Finland has a program called Kiva, it's spelled K-I-V-A, which involves 20 hours of lessons and other information and teaching to students, and it apparently is very effective. It's something that I'd like to take a look at further. And there was a good deal of case law discussion and a very detailed handout on that. The third one I went to is the 21st Century Learning in 20th Century Facilities. This one was probably the least helpful of the 4 because it dealt with some things that I think we've already taken into great account here, and it was useful to see that. And in fact, some of the examples they gave were of School District 150 facilities that have been developed and improved and were shown as good examples of school design and execution. The last one, and probably the most interesting, was 21st Century Skills Targeting Higher Order Thinking. This is on the issue of inquiry-based learning, and it is used at the Carrollton, Illinois School District. It's a small district with a school of 600 in a town of 2,600, and it really deals with a challenge to students to create an inquiry into an essential question. And I would like us to take a look at this as something that might apply, particularly in like an IB setting, Dr. Lathan, and maybe you've been familiar with that or not, but they have really done a good job of putting this together, and I think we could even visit and see how they do it, but they have done a good deal of work on this and have established it as a way of creating a thought and inquiry process that really sticks. And it was very clear from the student comments on the video they had that these are students that have been through the program several years ago, and it really sticks. The last one, and I thought this was most interesting in the vendor exhibits, is a company called LifeTrack Services, which does follow-up surveys with school graduates as a way of identifying those things in the curriculum and programs that are most beneficial to graduates. And it is relatively uncostly per student. Metamora is using this right now, and it allows you to find out over a period of 5 years feedback from your graduates as to what they've seen, what they expect, and it also allows them to be tied in for further alumni activities as they go through their careers. So very helpful, and hopefully we'll see more of that next year in the same type of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Cloyd. Reverend Butler?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say to my board colleagues and to others that are part of the district administration that joined us at the conference, it's good being there and learning together. And to also say that I think it's good that we are role models for our district staff. We hear a lot about their professional development and the things that they are required to do to be excellent at their job. And when we have the opportunity, we are involved in that as well. So I hope that the community is noting that we are able to do the things that we do because we take time to develop ourselves as well and become knowledgeable about the different issues around us. And thus, therefore, fulfilling what we've been charged to do, and that's to be trustees of the children, the students in this district, and your tax money. With that being said, I attended the workshops that I felt was reflective of the committee that I am serving on as this board representative. I attended 3 major workshops as well as some other activities that were there, and the networking that Mrs. Ross talked about, meeting and talking with other board members from small districts to large districts, longtime veteran board members to those that are just getting started. So it gives you a well-roundedness of the feel for education in the state of Illinois. One of the workshops I attended, being on the School and Community Committee, dealt with hot topics for parents and the community. In that workshop, we looked at the fact that it's going to be very important for districts to make sure that they are allowing the community to understand what the Common Core standards are, since we're moving in that way. And I've already spoke to Dr. Lathan about that, of us getting information out into the community. Also, parents are interested in their children and their social and emotional learning, so we must keep that at the forefront as we talk about behavioral issues and all the other interventions that we are putting in to work with our children. One thing here I noticed says we have to warn parents of the changes and the adjustments as it relates to the performance evaluations that are going on with our district staff. So that needs to be at the top, as we're ahead of many districts because of our school improvement program that we've been on for a while, but other districts are now coming into that. So it's going to be statewide conversation about these performance evaluations. So we need to keep that at the forefront for the community to be as engaged and knowledgeable about that. School report cards, making sure that the community is aware of what that's all about and what it entails as for grading our communities, and legislation that goes along with that. There was a whole lot to it. I conclude on that workshop is that they did encourage us to hold meetings more frequently. I don't know how we're going to do that, but the one thing that I know is involved in this district that I was able to share with them, again, that our superintendent is out at the PTO meetings and other forums, so we do take great advantage of that in Peoria District 150. Parents need to know, and we do hear this from Mrs. Ross, and we have our parent committee, our parent-teacher advisory committee, and we also have the parent university that's headed by Mr. York Powers, is working with parents. Parents need to know that the participation makes a difference. Parents need to be involved. We hear that over and over, and what was stated there, that parental involvement, and Dr. Kenny, you would like this, parental involvement adds $1,000 per pupil towards education by having parents involved. So that's very important. We have, where we have our reports on customer service, they encourage us, again, as we look at what's important to the community, we need to look at how we welcome our parents, and then make sure that parents are clear on the issues, and make sure that the information we provide the parents is usable. It has purpose and it has meaning. again, working with the community. I went to one on communication strategies, and in there, we talked about why communication matters. And a big part of that is looking at the public relations or the public image that the school board gives out in the community, making sure that we are clear on our statement of visions and goals, and that the community comes along with that we are factual in what we do, and we do focus on community engagement. And so they also, again, when Ms. Patel came on the board, she pretty much encouraged all of us, or role model for all of us, how to do social media with the community, and that was a big one. And so as we have council available and board members are encouraged to go out on Facebook and things like that, that we need to look at that. And then the last one was a mentoring workshop, which again are reading buddies and programs like that. We're already doing that. And when they had us to identify some things, I was happy that I was able to identify some of the programs that we do have in the community. So again, when we have mentors in the community, and we will push that and support you, Dr. Latham, in those programs, we will see the difference in students' attitudes, absences, and less drug use. And we will also see a real working staff among boards, administration, and the staff. So again, I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to attend and look forward to continually learning and growing with all of the community for District 150.
Thank you, Reverend Butler. First, I guess regarding my visit, I just, for myself and I think on behalf of the board, I want to thank the public that it's your tax dollars that help pay for our attendance at this ISB conference, and we appreciate your support. I do think that it really makes us better board members. Mm-hmm. It provides a general framework in which we operate. As Ms. Ross, Reverend Butler, Vice President Cloyd has stated, it really does give you an opportunity to network. You talk to other board members and you find out that many of the issues that we face here in our district are the same issues they face as well. You also realize that there are different types of districts. Maybe the rural counties, they are concerned with bigger things. They may have to do a little bit more in terms of managing their budgets, managing some of the day-to-day operations of their school districts, where here we're a large school district and we have many, many resources available to us. So some topics might be of more interest to us, while others might be of more interest to them. But again, thank you for your support of our endeavor here. There's also the general sessions, of course, that we are asked to attend, and Diane Ravitch was there to speak, and she's a former No Child Left Behind supporter who has since turned the other way, gone 180 degrees, and basically said that statistics for children are no longer helpful, and we really shouldn't be doing test-based teaching. I can't say I agreed with her on every point, but I think it's always good to sample a variety of perspectives, and certainly she had a lot to say. From my perspective, I always say, well, how else are you able to measure student achievement if you can't test them? So that was just one comment I got from the general sessions, but I also say the general sessions are helpful, and they kind of recharge your batteries. They allow you to know what you should be expecting of yourself, and what you should be expecting of your administration, and what your purpose in serving as a school board member is. So the sessions I attended, we all huddled together before lunch and we divvied up our assignments, and maybe I took a couple for the team. I don't know. One I went to was the classrooms first and the impact it's going to have on the learning in your classrooms. As many of you know, this was Sheila Simon's assignment, and she went out and was supposed to find out how can we make your classrooms better, and more importantly, how can we consolidate the 800 school districts we have in the state of Illinois down to 300. This particular program was very short because they didn't accomplish a lot in that study. What they found is that it turned out the consolidation was far too expensive, because if they were to consolidate one district into another, they were going to have to bump up teachers' pay to the higher paying district. So the administrative costs they sought to save were just trumped by any kind of teacher costs. Moreover, they found that districts really do have different concerns, and that the 800 school districts in Illinois weren't really the drain. So I asked the moderator, I said, well, so your conclusions are somewhat inconclusive. She didn't get that I was kind of, joshing with her a little bit, but that's indeed what it was. The one thing they did talk about is, and maybe this speaks more to smaller school districts, I don't know, Dr. Kinney, you can maybe speak to this, but they did talk a little bit about the idea of statewide central purchasing for curriculum, textbooks, and things like that, trying to get a better deal with our curriculum providers. The other session I attended was veteran finance, or finance for veteran school board members. I guess I'm a veteran in the school board world to some degree. And much of that discussion turned on two topics, fiscal cliff and the pension reform, talking about how the fiscal cliff was going to potentially affect bond interest rates, and then talked about the concept of bonding. It's just, frankly, it's a personal topic that I like to educate myself on, knowing that sometimes those issues are presented to us as board members, and I like to be educated in my own sense on how that can impact our board's finances. Pension reform, they spoke that something's definitely coming. They think it's going to be what has been proposed in the state legislature, where local school districts are going to have to take on the obligation of what we have right now, which is the pass-through that we see in our budget every year. That it will be gradually factored in over time, but that they thought that would happen in what is the double lame duck session, not only with the outgoing legislatures, but then also the outgoing people from the districts that were redrawn, and so therefore there's no longer a representative or a state senator for a given seat. The one thing I do find about this conference that can be a little bit annoying is that when people talk about these very serious issues, they always kind of laugh at Illinois' dysfunction. And I just don't think it's all that funny. I think it's very serious, and I think as voters, taxpayers, as citizens of this state, we would be, when we chuckle, and maybe this is more of a symptom of I listen to the radio with WLS, and I listen to Ro Khan, and they always are laughing about the corrupt politicians in Illinois. And I just don't think it's that funny. So I don't think we serve ourselves when we laugh about the dire straits that Illinois is in. So that was basically the finance one. And then the other one I attended was an exercise on policy making versus what the administration does. That was more of a network benefit, because I got to talk to some school board members who, frankly, in talking to a few of them, they really got into some nitty-gritty fights that I thought I was like, well, you're causing yourself much more headaches than, like, who starts in the basketball team and things like that. I mean, that just kind of sounds silly to me. But it's good. If anything, I learned more from them about the perspective of board role versus administrator's role versus our team exercise that we did that presented policies on dress codes and things like that. And this issue comes up. What would you do now as a board member? I can't really report on the gains we did, because that is not the substantive topics that necessarily came out of that particular session. Excuse me. There's a lot to cover at this particular conference, so it's helpful to go in subsequent years. This is my third year going, and I know we all have gone in one form or another. So I look forward to it next year. And again, thank you for sending us, and we really appreciate it. We get a lot out of it.
All right, bring it home, girl.
Ms. Costigas will.
Okay.
Yeah, the reports she has a report for next time, and.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, where am I now in the meeting? Okay. I am at the end.
Committee reports.
Reports from board committees. Any reports from board committees?
I would like, oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, the policy committee was going to meet, I think, on Thursday, and because of my scheduling, we're going to have to cancel that, so we'll be looking to set a meeting for after the holidays.
And Ms. Patel has agreed to let me report on the meeting with the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee last Thursday. Just want to let the board know that we are looking at the issue of bullying, and we've received policies from other districts in the state of Illinois, and definitely we'll be looking at some of the things that is going on in the Chicago School District, because some of the committee members there found some things very interesting and want to explore those things. So you should be hearing something from this committee during this school year in regards to perhaps how we can enhance and work with our issues of bullying. Secondly, at the last school board meeting, we talked about school discipline and the letters that go out to the parents. Perhaps those letters are not communicating exactly what's going on or are presented in a timely fashion. So the committee members who are community people are looking at that letter or those letters to bring back their thoughts and give their input as to how that might be improved upon in terms of communication with parents, the discipline. So that's what we're working on. We'll be meeting in January. The next meeting is January the 10th here at the administration site at 4:45 p.m.
And Linda took the lead on that meeting very last minute because I had a sitter cancellation, and it was, from everyone I talked to, a wonderful meeting, very productive, so appreciate that.
Oh, Ms. Ross?
I believe Ms. Cossack is the chair of the building committee, but she was out on a cruise somewhere. So last Thursday, the building committee met, and we've already talked about basically our whole focus and topic was on the Calvin Coolidge and Rolling Acres School request. And so that recommendation came from the building committee through Dr. Kenny to the board, and that's how we got to making that decision to do the contract.
And I suppose I'll just take a brief opportunity. Mr. Cloyd's already touched on it earlier in the meeting, but Strategic Communications Committee meeting, we did have that in October. It was very productive, helpful. I know we have another one planned for next quarter. You know, it's good to see that that's started back up again, so, okay. And let's take this moment to say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and any other holiday you may keep during this season. Stay safe, enjoy each other, enjoy your families, and we will see you next year. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.